Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This needs to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live right now or post a new video. Now, you might have seen a slight error in the title. The title of this video is meant to say, what's the difference between asexual intimacy and sexual intimacy? So I will change that after this video has finished. So if you're new to this channel, you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this awesome Asexual Perspectives 47 Asexual Stories book, Love, Life and Sex, a celebration of asexual diversity. So to get on with tonight's episode then, what's the difference between asexual intimacy and sexual intimacy? So, in other words, I'm talking about what's the difference between intimacy with asexuals compared to sexuals. Okay, so with asexual intimacy, the main point is that asexuals don't experience sexual attraction in the main, so we don't get the need, urge, and want for partnered sexual intercourse, right? So, how does this work in an actual relationship? So I'm in a group at the moment. I'm doing some online. Oh, hi, Megan. Lots of love. Nice to see you. Lovely to see you. Lovely always to see you. So I am in an online training group on Facebook at the moment. So I'm trying to do my own work, and then I'm trying to go in the Facebook group and learn that training, because there's a 7-day challenge, which is like basically training every single day. I didn't actually get to see most of today's because I was doing videoing. Thanks for the thumbs up for the asexual course that I've got 2 courses coming out. So I was doing the video of the introduction basically to the courses on the sales page. So that's what I was spending my time doing today. So I only missed a lot of today's training. You can watch it like the next day. But you know, there's a lot of training going on, and in this group there's now over 200,000 people in this group. Like, it's run. I'm just going to close that window because it's really annoying me. Look, I got poo on, and I've also got sheep poo. Sorry, I just had to say that. Oh, and now the curtain's like a bit, which is annoying, but never mind. So yeah, getting back to what I was saying, basically, yeah, so I'm in this group and it's got over 200,000 people in this group. It's run by one of the world's biggest online and offline, usually, world coaches in life and business. So it's a really, really huge group, and I've gone live twice out of the 3 days training. We've had training. 4 days training actually, because today's I missed, I only saw part of. I have actually gone in there twice live and talked about asexuality. Thanks for the thumbs up. So yeah, so twice, you know, I think it's got 240 something thousand people in there now, if not more. It's growing all the time. So, you know, when it first started, there was like, I think about 40,000. Now it's just gone manic. Hi, Luna. Lots of love. Nice to see you. So as you can imagine, like, the last time I went live was actually yesterday, and it was to over, like, I think it's well over now 240,000 people, and I was talking about asexuality, that I'm asexual. So just imagine the people that I'm actually educating in that group about asexuality. You know, obviously I've got to be careful what I say, because I can't give links out to things. You're not allowed to promote the stuff in that way. All you can do is talk about your asexuality and how basically you're trying to change your life, and I just talk about asexuality as part of that, you know. So the last video I did yesterday was all about it was basically yesterday's training was all, well, the day before wasn't out because we've gone into another day. It's like over 3 a.m. when I'm streaming this in the middle of the night, as per usual lately. So basically, yeah, the last training, well, the training just before last was the one I watched, was relationships, and it was all about relationships and intimacy. So it's very, very interesting. At the end, we had to, or up to the next day before the training, we had to go live and say, you know, what we would do with ourselves to get our dream person in the future, our dream relationship? How would we change ourselves? Because when we get into a relationship, we often think about another person changing. How is this person going to change for us? What are they going to do for us? But being in a relationship is all about giving and loving the other person without expecting stuff back all the time. Do you know what I mean? So we have to be in a position where we're actually the best person for that future person that we're going to be with. So I said that, you know, I've got to sort my finances out and my career, which go together. And I explained that I was asexual. So obviously it's more difficult for me to find someone that is suitable for relationship. And I said that was on asexual dating sites since 2014, you know, but I talked about intimacy in asexual relationships because the training this person did, it was all about intimate relationships. And it's like, what is the difference between a friend and an intimate relationship, you know, being in an intimate relationship? And they said the only difference is the fact that you know, there is intimacy in an intimate relationship. So basically a friendship, they said, you can connect with each other through hobbies and interests, you know, shared interests. That's what makes a connection with and makes the friendship. But with intimacy, the difference is with an intimate relationship, the difference is intimacy, which you don't have with your friends, right? However, in the asexual world that we live in, asexuals can be very different, right? And this is where I guess my lifelong education, well, for over half my life, of being in relationships with heterosexuals in comparison to living as an asexual person in this life, you know, it's very, very different. Sometimes it's like two separate worlds. So in society in general, in you know, like a lot of it's heterosexual relationships, right? And in society in general with sexual relationships, there's a lot of boundaries, the difference between being in a relationship and being a friend, right? There's kind of boundaries drawn. There's kind of very distinctive things you shouldn't be doing in a friendship that you know, and your stuff you should only be doing with your relationship person, right? Obviously some people still in the sexual realm, they are still very much polyamorous. Some of them, you know, they're non-monogamous, so some of them have sex or intimacy with multiple partners, right? With asexuals, what is quite different in some ways is that not all asexuals, but there's a significant proportion I found of asexuals, thanks for the thumbs up, actually hug, even cuddle their friends. Like I hug my friends to say hello and goodbye, but I don't sit there cuddling them on the sofa watching movies. To me, that is something I would only do in a relationship, and that is very much what the general world population would be usually like in the heterosexual world, heteronormative world, if you like. They would be usually cuddling in a relationship, or if they're polyamorous, or if they're cheating, that would usually be considered cheating if you're going around cuddling someone who's just your friend. Obviously, though, some sexuals, they do go and participate in cuddle groups. You can get like online meetup groups where there is cuddling involved. So some sexuals do that. So it does still depend on the individual relationship, the individual person. But in general, you know, there's very kind of strict boundaries, like friendships, you don't cross certain lines, you know, especially with physical touching. But with some asexuals, they do cuddle their friends. They'll, you know, not just a hug, hello and goodbye. It's full on like put your arm around, cuddle into each other, snuggle up while watching the TV together, right? So it's kind of like completely different in some ways. And that kind of is hard, I think, if you've come, like I've come traditionally from a heterosexual background. I've been in heterosexual relationships all half my life. And so when I found out I was asexual, I had to get used to not just my asexuality, but how the asexual kind of world works, how relationships and friendships are formed, how they are similar and different to being in a relationship or friendship with a sexual person, for example. So with, like with some asexuals who are friends, like I said, they're into cuddling. Well, that would be totally unacceptable for many heterosexuals for their partner to be going around cuddling their friends. It'd be like, no, that's intimacy. That's not just a friendship. You're being physically intimate with someone. You're snuggling into them. That's not allowed, right? Because you're cheating. Now, in terms of asexuality, obviously, if you're going to be in a relationship with another asexual, you've got to find compatibility and agreement. Whatever relationship you go into, boundaries have got to be drawn. So if, for example, there's two asexuals and you both love cuddling your friends and you're both happy and confident and comfortable, that's fine. And be in a relationship maybe with one or more person, but say you want to be in a relationship with one person, but you still both enjoy cuddling your friends. If that's equal, that's fine. But what you have to make sure in any relationship or dating scenario is that you're actually singing from the same hymn sheet. So you've discussed all these type of things, right? What is heartbreaking is some asexuals, I've known it to happen, get into a relationship with someone and the person ends up being polyamorous and they never even knew that, and they're monogamous. So you must be very upfront, open and honest and say where you're monogamous or polyamorous. And if you are monogamous, you're gonna want a monogamous person, right? Because you want monogamy, unless you just want monogamy for yourself and they can see who they like, right? So usually a monogamous person means they just want a relationship with one person that's only a relationship with them. That's what monogamy traditionally means, but some people have different ideas about that even. So you have to make sure that, if you want monogamy just to be with one person in a relationship, that the other person feels the same way as well. And that if cuddling your friends is not good, because that would be cheating, even if you are asexual, that could still be classed to you as cheating, that you make that clear. Like, I couldn't be with someone who was an asexual person, go around cuddling their friends. To me, that is, as a romantic asexual, that is completely unacceptable. I don't mind them hugging their friend to say hello, goodbye. Obviously, there might be kind of like weird exceptions where maybe their best friend's like really, really upset. Maybe that just happened in the moment. Maybe they've had a sadness or a loss or something like that. I don't know how I feel. In general, I don't personally like a person that I'm in a relationship with to go around cuddling someone else. I don't think it's appropriate, but that's my boundary. So I'd have to find someone who was equally like that. Do you know what I mean? So you have to bear this in mind. So in terms of intimacy, if you're an asexual person that doesn't experience any sexual attraction, which is what the majority of pure asexuals, if you like, are like that. Some people are on the asexual spectrum, but they're on the more sexual end, where there's kind of like maybe times they do experience sexual attraction, right? But in the main, asexuals don't experience sexual attraction, right? So if you think of a traditional relationship in the heteronormative world, for example, that's very much based on intimacy involving sexual intercourse, involving sexual acts, involving all to do with sex, right? But if you take asexual intimacy, you can have completely different intimacy with little or to no touching at all. You can have intimacy without even touching someone at all, right? And asexuals love through a deep emotional connection. So whereas sexuals need a lot of more physical stuff, when they think of intimacy, they always conclude the sexual component. Usually they always include having sex, sexual intercourse, and all the different variations that go with that, right? But when an asexual loves, who doesn't want sex, who's sex repulsed and not having sex, they can love someone without any sexual intercourse whatsoever. And asexuals have different degrees of whether, if they like to be touched or not. Some asexuals are touch averse. It doesn't mean to say that they can't have an intimate relationship with another touch averse person, for example, because intimacy is all different things, right? It's not just sexual, physical. So intimacy is when you share your deepest secrets, desires, and fears with someone. It's when you open up your heart to that other person and lay it bare. It's when you're like basically naked without being physically naked. You know, you'll bare your heart and soul to that person. You don't have secrets. You share heart to heart. You share discussions and talk from your truth, from your authentic self, so that the person can feel your heart. You know, you don't have to have sex for that to happen. You know, you can have deeply passionate conversations. You can have deep, passionate connection of the mind. You can have deep, passionate connection of the soul. You can have this warm intensity around someone just being in their presence. This obviously blows the whole concept of intimacy of the sexual sort. This is what's not focused on enough, even in sexual relationships, because you need other forms of intimacy. Even in a sexual relationship, you can't be having sex every single minute of the day. What happens when that person goes away on holiday without you? What happens when that person goes traveling to see their friend in a foreign country for 2 weeks? What happens like in the situation at the moment with the COVID situation? You know, when people can't see each other, if they don't have other forms of intimacy, that relationship just crumbles and dies, right? So you can have intimacy without sexual attraction and without sexual intercourse or even doing sex acts, right? So don't let the heteronormative society we live in dictate to you that intimacy has got to include sexual intercourse. It doesn't. But dating coaches who are not the same as me, I'm an asexuality dating coach, dating coaches that are traditional heterosexual dating coaches or aimed at the sexual market, they will always tell you stuff like, oh, if you haven't got sex in a relationship, then your relationship's dead in the water. I actually heard someone say that, another dating coach, you know, that's not asexual. And that is just really, really horrible. Luna, yes, exactly. Luna says, oh, lots of love to you. I like their little musical notes to Megan as well from Luna. That's really sweet. So you know, you've got to understand that they work very differently. But if you ever want to get into a relationship with a sexual person, it will be very hard for them to understand that intimacy doesn't have to involve sex. That you can still be very passionate about hobbies and interests together. You see, like this guy said, in traditional heteronormative, they see a friendship as a connection with shared interests. That's how this guy described it. This guy has got a lot of, you know, experience. 43 years he's been a coach for. He's a world-renowned coach, so he does know what he's talking about a lot of the time. But obviously he doesn't know what he's talking about in terms of asexuality because he doesn't get involved with asexuality. He doesn't talk about it. You know, I don't know if I'm one of the few people who's probably ever come across actually do a video in front of 240 odd thousand people talking about asexuality. And in that group, they say that he watches every single video, or at least I hope he does, you know. I think he definitely would have watched the first one because you usually have to do it within a certain time frame. The first one I did the other day about asexuality, when there was less people in the group then, but there was more people yesterday. But when I first started talking about asexuality, then I know you would have watched that video because he watched everyone that was done before 6 a.m. So that was really good. So you know, I just think it's incredibly useful to you to know that there is a major difference, you know, that because I get very frustrated at the fact that a lot of people are like, oh, asexuals just want a friendship, right? I got told that even by my own parents, oh, you just want a friendship, Sandra. This is before I found out I was asexual. It's like, no, I don't kiss my friends. You know, so there's different levels of intimacy for different asexuals. There's different boundaries, like I was saying. So it is a different kind of world to a certain extent, even though we live in the same world together. We kind of have our own sort of rules that we don't really speak about. And obviously that's hard for sexuals to understand that. It's not normal for them. Megan, I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's always been hard for me to get previous sexual people to understand, but it's just made me not want to socialize. Haha, well, not with them. Yeah, it's I'm glad, Megan, you agree. Yeah, it's very It's very, very difficult, isn't it? I think, like with sexual people can't usually be just friends with someone. I will tell you the blunt facts. There will always be usually some attraction. I'll either be some attraction or they'll want to use you for asexual benefits a lot of the time. You just have to be careful. This is like if it's traditionally the opposite gender or something. Obviously you can still be friends with sexuals, but for example, I have a female that's a friend, but I'm not attracted to females. She's not attracted to females. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a friendship, right? But like if she gets guy friends, usually there's always an element of the guy fancying her. Do you know what I mean? Usually she has got guy friends, but she does have a gay guy friend, which obviously is good because she's open to stuff like that as well. But, a lot of her friends in the past, she has had some sort of like, she has had at some point, usually, a lot of her guy friends, she has had some kind of feelings for them or them her. She's in a serious committed relationship now, so it's pretty irrelevant. And she would, she's very, very got the guy, got the guy of her dreams, as it were, and he's got the girl of his dreams in her. But you have to understand that a lot of sexuals, because they're sexually attracted to people, they do experience sexual attraction to multiple people, and usually they want more than just a friendship. They will feel more for you than friendship. I'm a hyper romantic asexual, so while I experience no sexual attraction, I do end up being attracted to a lot of my close friends, which is really annoying for me because I'd rather not. But it's just what happens. I just have to accept it about myself, so I could be romantically attracted to one, spiritually attracted to the other, but that's the thing. We can have lots of different forms of intimacy. Spiritual intimacy you can have with someone. This is when you're spiritually connected. Maybe you feel you've known them in a previous life. Maybe you feel just a really deep connection of the soul. You can have mind intimacy where you're just talking and you just really understand each other on that deep intellectual level, and you can have just there's a very lot of intimacy for asexuals in deep conversations. When we have deep conversations, when we have ongoing conversations, that is a level of intimacy, and I think because we are kind of more cut off from society and social norms, the conversations feel more intimate to us. With sexuals, it's kind of like, oh, they talk so much anyway to multiple people, and it's not so special to them. I think for asexuals, it's a lot more special to us if we talk to people for a long time, because we talk to other asexuals, for example, specifically, really, for a long time, because it's kind of like, wow, you feel kind of like, even on a friendship level, you'll feel like you're having some intimacy. Now, at first, because I wasn't used to intimate friendships at all, I was used to either being in a relationship or not. I wasn't used to intimate friendships. It's taken me a while to get used to that. So to say now that I have very loving, caring, intimate relationships with my friends, is kind of very different for me. I have with my two best asexual friends, I have very loving friendships with them, but it's a friendship relationship. It's not a relationship. It's not a romantic relationship. I have very, very loving, caring friendships with them, which are intimate in terms of we talk a lot together and we share a lot of secrets and stuff like that, so you have a lot more layers of intimacy, I think, with asexuals, because you literally peel back all the different elements of intimacy that sexuals tend to overlook, because literally they are ruled so much by this sexual attraction, this chemical hormone, this chemistry going on, that it can cloud the other areas of intimacy. Whereas with us, we can kind of peel back the different types of layers of intimacy that sexuals usually aren't able to do, because they don't fully see them all in their entirety in each individual case, if you understand what I mean. So they wouldn't necessarily think that, oh, you can have intelligence intimacy and then romantic intimacy and then like deep emotional connection. They would kind of like think about it a little bit as part of going with sexual attraction, but for us, we can have them separate on our own. And asexuals, I said in the video when I was in this group that asexuals can have intimate relationships without sex and have that forever. And, you know, they're still attracted to each other, because they were trying to explain that attraction a lot of the time is to do with intimacy, but they didn't say intimacy was the sex, but it was just kind of assumed that way. But it was also like not just about that. It's about having connection, communication, and basically making that person you're in a relationship with the most important person in your life. Obviously, with asexuals, we value our friends a lot more than just being in a relationship. So we kind of take the traditional relationship model of that person being the most important person to them, and it should be, you know, that person, if you're in a relationship with them, should really be the most important person in that person's life, you know, because they're going to be with them the most. However, you know, I value my friendships so much, like my best friends. I will never ever let them not be my best friends. You know, we just really care about each other so much. So I have learned over the time of my asexual journey to value and appreciate those friends just as much as a romantic relationship, which I didn't probably do in the past. But I didn't have such great friendships, you know. And I wasn't used to being so intimate in terms of sharing so many secrets, and in terms of like really laying my soul and emotions bare, you know, and really developing and forging those deep emotional connections in a friendship. I wasn't so used to doing that before. You know, a lot of the stuff that I do in friendships now, I wouldn't have dreamed of doing outside of a romantic relationship before, but it's been really good. I feel I've developed myself. I feel I've grown myself as a person. I feel I'm more equipped to actually be in a romantic relationship in the future because of the deep emotional connections I've been able to make with my deep friendships with my asexual friends. You know, I feel a better person for doing that. I feel better now I've got that in my life, that I understand the process, that I trust it more, that I trust myself, that I trust them. And so it's been a very beautiful awakening for me that I can have very intimate friendships without them being of a sexual nature, and with them actually, you know, with it actually being okay to have intimate friendships in a emotional sense. For a long time I resisted that. I felt like it wasn't right to do that. It was like betraying a potential partner somehow, but I don't actually see it that way anymore. I just see it is as it is, and I completely trust myself. So I know that I wouldn't be doing anything wrong with my asexual friends, if you know what I mean. So I think that, you know, you have to understand that when sexuals think about getting into a relationship, sex forms a huge part of that. You know, sex, sexual feelings, and their intimacy is based on sexual attraction, based on sex usually, right? So you have to understand that if you get into a relationship with a sexual, you would probably value emotional intimacy with them far more than they probably would. You probably value intelligence intimacy, spiritual intimacy, all the other forms of intimacy that are kind of what you like, that, you know, that's you know, some people aren't spiritual, or they don't think they're spiritual. There's usually some spiritual element to most people, but they don't realize that it's dormant. But, you know, of the people that are not, you know, spiritual, obviously you won't look for that spiritual connection. You won't seek that out or come across it unless you happen to come across it by accident, you know. And if you're not really into like intelligent conversations, you just want to chill out and have more entertainment and stuff, then you probably have a more intimate connection. Even, you know, just playing the same videos together, video games together, for example, being in the same space as each other, maybe even snuggling up to each other while you're doing that and stuff, that would be your intimacy. And just spending time together for asexuals, you know, lots of time would be the intimacy thing. So with that in mind, you know, if you are going to get into a relationship with another asexual, you're going to have to work out how you both view intimacy, you know, because if you view intimacy for you as, you know, talking a lot and being there physically with each other a lot in each other's lives, and sharing like food together, sharing a bed together, watching movies together, doing most things together, but then the other person sees that, you know, their intimacy is maybe on a more intellectual level. Maybe they want you to, they're looking for someone who goes reads lots of books, for example, and they want to be able to talk about those books. Maybe they're into personal professional development, so they want to spend like hours with you, like doing training courses, and that's their intimacy, because they are sharing something, their passion that they love with you, and they have intelligence attraction probably going on as well, so that you know, they are wanting that intimacy, they're needing and craving that intelligent conversation with you, you know. So you have to bear in mind that when you get into a relationship with an asexual person, you have to be on the same kind of intimacy level and wanting the same type of intimacy they do. You know, I'm not a video game player. I see a lot of asexuals that want someone who will play video games with them. They love it, it lights their life up, it's their passion, it's their joy. And when you share passions and joys together and interests, it's different, because although for sexuals, you know, that might just be a friendship, asexuals do connect through having things in common. That creates some intimacy, because already you connect with that person, you relate to them, you feel like you understand them and know them on those levels, because the sexual attraction isn't there. So you're looking for different things. You're seeking intimacy in many, many multiple other things. And this is obviously what you won't hear anywhere else, because most people don't understand the difference between sexual intimacy and asexual intimacy. They don't get how different it is, especially in everyday situations and relationships and dating, which is obviously why I'm here to help you. You know, navigating asexuality and relationships in a sexualized world is very difficult. You know, they're kind of two different sets of rules to a certain extent. You know, I'm surprised, like, I'm not surprised as in shocked, but I was surprised, especially when I first discovered asexuality, how different things are, how a lot of things that wouldn't be acceptable in a sexual relationship are acceptable in a friendship, for example. That, you know, so we could have intimate friendships, whereas it would be like you're crossing the line if you're in a relationship with a sexual and you're getting too intimate with your friends. Do you know what I mean? Whereas because asexuals are rarer, if you like, we need that deep emotional connection, and we are able to connect with more people on a deep emotional level, even just as a friend, because we have that capability, because we haven't got this sexual attraction stuff and these hormones flying around in terms of sexual attraction, which, you know, discolors and distorts a lot of things for people. However, obviously asexuals are all different, and, you know, for someone like me, romance does get in the way. You know, I still have those romantic chemicals, I still have chemicals flying everywhere to do with romance, you know, which can distort things. But, you know, you need to be getting someone long term in a relationship. If you're looking for a relationship and to date, you need to be getting, or even if you're looking for a queer platonic relationship, someone you can actually be in a relationship with, you need to find out and look for the intimacy that you want in the relationship, that the other person wants. You've both got to want the same type of intimate relationship, because the intimacy will help bond and keep you together in that relationship. Once the intimacy starts going and you don't respect each other anymore, and you don't appreciate each other anymore, and you're losing the connection, you're being disconnected, that's when people can fall out of love or get very badly hurt, you know, and you don't want that. You know, asexuals love for a deep emotional connection. This is how we love, which usually for sexuals, emotional connection is part of the way they love. Not all of them, but quite a few of them. But it's not a necessity to the point that it is with asexuals. It's not how they specifically love and stay committed. A lot of the time it is sexual attraction and sexual intimacy, doing sexual acts together, that it forms part of their intimacy. Whereas with asexuals, we don't need that, and we don't have it. The deep emotional connection is how we love, and how we build intimacy and how we stay intimate with our friends or our actual significant other. So, you know, it's completely different in some ways, but similar in others. So a sexual person will still want some emotional connection with you. They'll still want that intimacy. They'll still need that intimacy. You'll still need that intimacy with them. But if you're asexual, you'll need that more than them. That's what I'm trying to say. It'll be more important to you, right? Very much so. So if the if, for example, you end up in a relationship with a sexual person, say that they are gone for 2 weeks, they've gone traveling, maybe they've gone traveling for work, and they don't contact you very much, you don't really hear from them, and your intimacy, part of your intimacy is deep emotional connection in terms of conversation. You need constant conversation to feel connected to that person. I have this. If I'm going to be in a relationship, I need to feel connection all the time. One way I do that is verbally. Well, when I say verbally, it's communication, it's talking, it's speaking. So I would need some messaging, video chatting, or audio messaging left. At the least I'd need messaging, because I need ongoing conversation with that person. I need to feel like I'm staying connected to them. If I don't feel like I'm staying connected to them, I don't feel the intimacy from them. I feel disconnected from them. And that's when the relationship starts to break and crumble, because I lose the intimacy that I desire, because I get intimacy from conversations, from being engaged in conversations with the people. Megan, I've got to sleep now since I'm making something early in the morning. Good night. Oh, night, Megan. I think you might have messaged me on Twitter, did you? Because I've got an email. I haven't been on Twitter today, though. I've been working. I slept and then worked, so I don't always go on Twitter. So I will get round to your message, but it probably won't be at the morning. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I haven't been on Twitter. I've been just so busy. I didn't even go to sleep till I think it was gone 8 or nearly 9 yesterday morning, and then I slept and then just was working. So I will reply to you on there. So yeah, lots of love to you. And good night. Take care. So yeah, it's very important that when you're looking to get into a relationship, or see you, Megan. It's really important when you get into a relationship that you do actually take all these into consideration. So I think it's very important and wise as an asexual person to understand the fact that we view attraction and intimacy differently overall in the bigger picture, and I think it's very important that if we get into a relationship with a sexual person, which could happen because we're only 1% of the population, so obviously a lot of people are sexual, and you're going to come across a lot of offers from sexuals, it's very important that you see if they can give you the intimacy you're seeking, because if not, it's going to really hurt you. I need that deep emotional connection. To be honest, in my experience, I can't get that deep emotional connection from a sexual person. I've only ever been able to get that so far from asexual friendships or potential asexual relationships. So, just basically take care of yourself, I'm saying, work out what you want in a relationship, but work out how you get your intimacy, because you're going to need that going forward if you want to be in a relationship. And obviously, even in a friendship, like I said, make sure you stipulate your boundaries in friendships as well. Make sure that you have the intimacy you want in friendships. You can get different types of friends. You can get friends that are acquaintance friends, friends that you see every so often, close friends, and more kind of intimate friends that you'll have really deep emotional connection with, really chat about anything and everything, share secrets together. Sharing secrets is a big part of intimacy. Telling people like a friend something you've never told anyone in your life, or barely anyone in your life, is intimacy. Sharing your world, your passions, your hopes, your dreams, all of this is different forms of intimacy. So believe me when I say asexuals can have intimacy, and they can have long-lasting, loving, committed, intimate relationships, but in a different way to sexuals. In some ways, in a lot more deeper way than sexuals can, And so always appreciate your asexuality, for being able to give you that depth of feeling, emotional connection that a lot of other sexual orientations don't naturally have. I think with asexuals, because we love for a deep emotional connection, we naturally have these other types of intimacies, and they're more apparent to us. I think sexuals have quite a few of the other ones, but they don't seem to be so consciously aware of them, whereas we can be a lot more consciously aware of them, because they're kind of like with us every single day. And the more that we get to know other people in our lives, you know, the more we can kind of explore the intimate side of us, you know. I mean, obviously some asexuals, they do like touching, you know, so you could have some intimacy in terms of touching as well. You know, there's nothing wrong if an asexual wants to have some touching. You know, some asexuals, they love touching all over the body. They find that very sensual. They find that a very intimate thing to do with their partner. You know, some people who aren't even asexual, they massage their friends and touch them all over. Do you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So touch is a form of intimacy. But what I'm saying is it's not the only form of intimacy. And if you're an asexual that's touch averse or doesn't like much touching, don't feel that you can't have an intimate relationship, because there's going to be other asexuals out there like you. We might be few and far between because we all have different niche needs, right? And we will have different nuances. But it's really important to remember that you are just as valid and you deserve just as much intimacy as anyone else. You just have to find someone else that has a similar or same type of intimacy that you require and desire yourself, and that you're capable and that they're capable of it as well, if that makes sense. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's video. If you've got any queries, comments, questions, as always, pop them down in the comments below. If you want to add anything else that you feel I missed out of this video, because intimacy is a huge subject. It's huge. I'm sure there's lots of things I didn't even cover in this video. So if you think there's anything I've missed out, you know, pop it down in the comments after this video's, you know, finished being processed. I really love to hear your views on intimacy, what experiences you've had. You know, I think just like sharing hobbies and interests can be very intimate, you know, and that can actually make attraction happen, especially with asexuals, you know. So I don't just think that's a friendship thing. Like, obviously this coach was like on about, you know, when you have shared interests, that's an intimacy, you know, that's a friendship rather than an intimate relationship. But I disagree in terms of asexuality. I think shared interest is one of the things that gives us the intimacy, especially if you're sharing those passions together. You know, if you're working on projects that you both enjoy together and you're getting so much excitement out of those projects, so much happiness and joy, that's going to give you a very deep, emotional, intimate connection when that other person shares your joy, shares your passion, shares your aliveness for those things as well. This is all forms of intimacy that I think is deeply overlooked in the more sexual world that we live in, you know, very much overlooked. And I think that's what people miss out in relationships. I think that's the magic they miss. I think they're so sexual, sometimes they're so focused on sexual attraction and maybe the lack of sex they're having sometimes, that they miss all these other things that can give them the emotional intimacy, the intellectual intimacy, the spiritual intimacy, the shared interest intimacy, you know, that they don't even realize that they need. You need all these intimacies that are, you know, natural to you as people, as asexuals. You need all these things. You know, like I said, if you're not spiritual, you don't really need the spiritual intimacy. But, you know, the things that light you up, light your soul, make you feel happy, make you feel alive, that is how you can connect with another human being and actually form those intimate connections or intimate relationship you desire. Anyway, I'm going to love you for now. Thanks for the thumbs up. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you think someone needs to hear these words, please share this video. I really, really do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, Megan, who's gone out, and Luna. I love you so much. Thank you for being part of my community here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful, helpful, insightful in any way. And if you are watching this right now and you've not subscribed yet, please hit the great big subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live. Right now, I'll post a new video. And also, if you want to grab a copy of my Asexual Perspectives book, the link is down below in the description, because obviously, you know, some people want to know more about asexuality and intimacy, and there's a lot of stuff in this book because it covers love, life, and sex with asexuals. Dario, brilliant content as usual. Oh, thank you, Dario. Nice to see you. I didn't realize you're watching. Lots of love, and I hope you'll be hearing another chat. It'll be lovely to hear from you. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate my content. I really love you lots. Take care. And don't forget to give this thumb up if you haven't already. Thumbs up. Take care. Lots of love. Bye. Bye, everyone.